Hi, everyone. Welcome to your psychology introduction from the Sixth Form Open evening. Obviously, we'd love to be able to see you guys in person, but currently unable to do so. My name is Mr. Stanswood. I'm one of the psychology teachers here at Bay House. And I'm just going to be talking to you about what the psychology course is, what kind of things you'll be studying, and what to expect from the course. Hopefully, you'll find it really interesting and useful. So psychology as a subject, it's a really interesting subject. A lot of people take it because it's something that we hear a lot about in the TV, in media, but we never actually kind of fully understand what it is. And where it's not offered at most places as a GCSE option, a lot of people are interested in taking it up. What psychology actually is the study of the mind and human behavior. We want to find out, why do people act the way that they act? What makes us behave in the way that we behave? Why does our behavior change when we're in a group versus when we're in our own? Why do we behave differently in certain situations? As psychologists, we observe other people, we conduct experiments, we try to find out more about the human mind and why people act and interact in certain ways. This helps us understand what motivates people. It understands how we can change as we grow up. And we can also use this to sort of tackle personal and social problems. Mental health is a big thing. We hear a lot about it in the media nowadays. And in psychology, we certainly look at that. As a career path, psychologists work in a wide variety of different areas: social care, mental health, education, even business, advertising, media, research areas, sports psychologists as well. There's loads of different ways that you can use psychology to further your career. At Bay House, our psychology department is a very high performing department. As you can see here from the examination results from the last 2 years, in every category, we are above the national average. We're very proud of our achievements here in psychology. The staff work very hard to support students. We have high expectations, but we are with you every step of the way to make sure that you achieve the best possible results. So you can be confident knowing that if you come to Bay House and if you take psychology, you will be getting the best possible support. So the makeup of the course that you study in your first year, your papers are split up into Unit 1 and Unit 2. In Unit 1, you look at social influence, which is looking about, why does our behavior change when we're around different people? Why is it that we might conform to group or social pressure? How do we respond to authority figures? Are we going to be obedient or not? And we look at understand why some people are more obedient than others. We'll also look at memory, which is looking about how our memory actually works, how our short-term and long-term memory develop. And when then also looking at eyewitness testimony, so why people who are involved in the witnessing of a crime or people who have been involved in a traumatic experience, why does that affect their memory? The final topic for Unit 1 is attachment, and that's looking at our early childhood experiences. Why does our relationship with our parents play an impact in our later on lives? Does having a good upbringing with our parents, does that enable us to then have a good relationship with our own children? Is it the people who have not had that, are they then perhaps inhibited from having that? In Unit 2, we look at psychopathology, which is understanding and diagnosing mental health problems, things like schizophrenia, depression, OCD. Why do those things develop? How do they develop? How can we treat them? And what does the symptoms of those kind of conditions look like? We also look at the approaches in psychology, how we can understand psychology from different perspectives. Can we explain human behavior from a biological perspective because of the way that we have in our genetics? Is it because of how we've learned? So have we learned to behave in a certain way? And that's what we cover within approaches. Research methods is looking at how we conduct a psychological experiment and what we have to consider. So we would be looking at things like, how are you going to get your participants? Do you have to make them aware of what it is that you're testing them on? All of the things that factor into the psychological experiment, both conducting them and looking at them, comes with research methods, and it's a really important unit. And the final one that we look at in Unit 2 is biopsychology. biopsychology is understanding how the brain works in terms of neurons, hormones, what kind of effect they have on the human body. In our second year, things get a little bit more interesting. So we look at forensic psychology. So if you've ever watched something like CSI or a cop show or anything like that, and you've sort of wondered how do they profile criminals, that's what we look at. We look at serial killers. We look and understand how does the FBI profile people, and we'll learn how we can do that, how to profile serial killers ourselves. We also look a bit more deeper in depth on schizophrenia. So this mental health condition, what does it mean for people? How does it present itself? We actually learn a little bit more, and it's not always what we see in the media when we hear that term. We then also look at issues and debates in psychology. So how are women represented in psychology? Does that affect the way that we look and understand for how studies are conducted? And we also look at gender differences as well. Overall, in psychology, you're assessed regularly. We have mid-topic and end-of-topic assessments. And at the end of the second year, when you sit your A-level, there will be 3 2-hour exams. So there's no coursework involved with psychology. It's all exam-based. So why would you choose psychology? I'm biased in this, but it's a fascinating subject. There's so much in our lives that we rely on, and we don't realize that we're actually using psychology for it. It is a really challenging subject because you're learning a brand new skill, and it helps you use and develop skills that you already have and transfer them to other subjects. Your writing will improve. You'll use maths as well. There's a bit of science thrown in. It's a mixture of different subjects that all come in together to this really interesting new subject. You'll be able to look at things from an analytical perspective. You'll be able to sort of critically evaluate different studies and sort of think about why is one bit of psychological research, why is that better than others? You'll also look at working and conducting your own psychological experiments. So how can you collect data? What can you do with that? How can you draw your own conclusions? Also, learning about human behavior can help build up your communication skills. It can build your confidence and resilience. And you work as part of a team. You work closely with other people, so you can build up your own teamwork and leadership skills. As a subject, it pairs well with a lot of other different subjects that you can do at Bay House. Sociology, English, history, media, film studies, PE, history. They all pair really well with psychology because you can use what you've covered in psychology and use that to apply to other subjects. It's a subject as well that opens a lot of doors. A lot of universities will offer combined courses that involve psychology. When I went to university, I attended psychology lectures with people whose main subjects were English, media, advertising, business, economics. So there is a lot of different aspects that interest people in psychology, which makes it a really fascinating subject to choose. As part of the psychology course, we also offer several trips. We have the Life Behind Bars, which is where the students from Bay House, they will attend a conference. You're not going to an actual prison, but you'll attend a conference where you will speak to people who have served sentences for a variety of different crimes: theft, drugs, robbery, murder, that kind of thing. You will always have the opportunity to listen to their speeches and sort of talk about their own experiences in prison, their reasons and their sort of motives for committing the crimes that they have done. And you'll be able to ask them questions as well. Students really enjoy this trip because it's not very often that you actually get the opportunity to have a conversation with someone who's committed murder and actually asking them why they did what they did. We also have visits from 2 psychologists. We have Francis Pakes come in. He's a forensic psychology that researches into the murders and also life in prison. He comes to Bay House to discuss the research that he's conducted. It gives us an opportunity to speak to him to find out what he's doing and kind of the effort and the thought behind that. And we also have Professor Zimbardo. He comes in. He created the controversial and sort of very famous Stanford prison experiment, which is something that we look at as part of our social influence unit. He's a world-renowned psychologist, and he comes in and talks to us about his experiment. And we have the opportunity to discuss with him what he did and his own sort of personal view on things. So that's psychology in a very sort of brief explanation. I really hope this has been useful and interesting for you guys. Hopefully, it's something that makes you sort of think a little bit more about. And please do let us know if you have any questions. But we look forward to hopefully seeing you soon. Thank you.